Hello and welcome to a tutorial on Introduction to Typography for first year composition students. My name is Jennifer and I'll be your host. So once again, this is Introduction to Typography for first year composition students, and I'm going to give you an overview of what typography is and how you can use it towards your writing courses. And we'll be going over for this tutorial is what is typography, how is it useful in writing, the typeface and categories, how can typography be used in the real world. And so the first question we're going to go into is what is typography, which is the art or practice of printing. And this first coined when the Gutenberg press first came into play. So that's the initiation of typography's birth right there. Now, how typography can be helpful in your writing is that it forces a writer to focus on how they communicate their writing to the audience. It focuses on being concise and clear with your words and word choice, and as a result, it heightens your audience awareness. And next we're going to be discussing typefaces and categories of typography. So first what we're going to answer is, what is a typeface? And typeface is basically the font, so it affects the view of the audience because it creates a relationship that is either concord, conflicting, or contrasting. And now concord is the use of only one typeface. It keeps the page very harmonious, very smooth, and is formal and quite often tranquil because it's very simple in how it's lined. You can see how simple the font is. There's no variations other than the capitalization of main headings. So it's a very simple and also fluid in its movement. Good for body. The next is conflict, which is the use of two or more similar typefaces on the same page. Typically this is something you want to avoid with this practice, simply because it often leads to a misconception of what the writer is trying to convey with the message. For example, in the top image up there provided by Robin Williams in her book Designer's Manual, the Non-Designer's Manual, the images, the font itself is a little misleading because we're not sure what the line is trying to convey in sound and fury there. So it's something to keep in mind as you're writing. And next we have contrast, and contrast is a very strong use of font. It's when you're appealing most to the audience's eye and making it more an effective tool for you as the writer to convey your message. If you look at the first image that we saw before, and originally it wasn't very distinguished as far as what the writer is trying to convey. Here in this message we're seeing that it's all about full sound and fury, and that really wants to stand out. That's something the writer wants us to pay attention to. The hello is very distinct in how it's showing, and it's easy on the eyes. You can see it right away. In the other image, on a wedding invitation, you want to see that the names of the people are actually standing out really well and in a nice pretty font for the wedding to be a little bit more formal and for the occasion. So make sure that when you're using font, you're using it for the right occasion. And next we're going to move into the categories. This specifically is the old style, and it's more focused or founded from hand lettering scribes. So it's old calligraphy of handwriting that we used to see in books prior to the printing press. You can see that there's stresses on the O of where the calligraphy would change. In the D and the L you see the little what's called serifs. Those are kind of like little feet on the letters themselves, and gives it a different distinguishing and also very formal. And the next category is modern. Modern is more of the humanist pen strokes, is what William calls it, and it dates to when the printing press first came into invention. So this is the type of font that was used, and it's why it's considered modern. And specifically, you see the difference in its stresses. There's more of a stress on the O's, or a shorter stress on the O's, and the D that you see there. We're going to go into what sans serif is. And sans serif is the font that doesn't have any of the little feet that we talked, which are the serifs, and it's not used in anywhere on those. This is a font that's typically now more common used in electronic writing materials. You'll see it more on newspapers that are online and any other kind of manuals and things like that, because it's a easier font to read, it's easier on the eyes, and it's much simpler to follow for people. The next category is slab serif, or simply serif. It's more commonly known of in Word documents, and this one does have a little feet that we discussed. It has the serifs on it. These are the ones that are typically used in print, on paper, and other newspapers that are now used still mailed out. It's not typically used online because it tends to cause more of a blurry vision for people, so it's actually deviated away from online printing. But it is still popular to use for for headers as well as table of contents, just to kind of get some distinguishing from the body of the text itself. The next section we're going to go into is actually regarding the ascenders, X height, and descenders. This is the distinguishing of the size of the font. The baseline is noted there just below the X height. X height is where all the main type is. Anything above the main type, or the X box that you see, is considered an ascender, which is usually your H's, your T's, and your T's. Anything below, which is the baseline, there you'll see is a Q or like a G or a Y, and it's just kind of a signifier and something a writer should know about when they're typing or using print online in a Word document, to be aware of it's when you start to rearrange the line structure, and to make sure that you're not overlapping your text so it's still readable. And next, there's two more fonts that we have for you, and these are the more fun fonts to play with. The script has to deal with the fonts that look like handwriting, calligraphy, or some kind of brush strokes. And these you want to use on special occasions, for example, like the wedding invitation we saw. A good example of this would be this image here of Carpe Diem that Williams has also provided for us. And the final category is decorative. As you can tell, this is a very fun font to play with. This is also one of those ones that you do need to use sparingly, because, or actually associated specifically with the occasion, is more of what you'll want to make sure you're using it for. So when can you use these tools of typography? Well, one example is in your essays. Yes, your essays. So long as you check with your professor first and they're okay with how you plan to use it, so make sure you have a game plan of how you want it to be conveyed and the message you want to get across with your typography. Also in Facebook, blogs, YouTube, or if you have your own website. And here are some examples of typography at work. This is an essay sample that I provided for you. If you look at it closely, you can see that the font is different in the header. The main font of the body is very different. Also, the headers themselves are distinguishable on purpose. There's a message that's associated with the theme of this overall essay. So long as you're conveying that message, the overall result will benefit you as a writer as well as the audience. This next sample is a movie clip from Fight Club. Someone decided to take the scene from Fight Club of the chemical burn and use it in typography. And how they actually did it was using a program that allows them to do these types of graphics. And they created a whole new way of conveying the message in the scene here that's provided from Fight Club. So if you want to see it in its full, go ahead and check YouTube and just type in Fight Club scene and typography. This next sample is a table of contents and provided from Robin Williams, the Non-Designer's Design book. It's to give you an example of contrast between these two images. And just to wrap things up and review, typography adds creativity to text, audience awareness, and makes the writer focus on concise messages. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Now I wish you good luck, and I hope you get a chance to try out typography.